Well, we turn now to our state's capital, which some boosters hope will become known as Cheyennewood. Organizers are gearing up for next month's annual Cheyenne International Film Festival. This year, the festival features a compelling film about people overcoming economic hardship, among other films. Executive Director of Wyoming Community Media, Alan Ohashi, gave Wyoming Signatures' Mark Homer the rundown.
You've had a lot to do in Wyoming with stimulating both filmmaking and the screening of films that people might not ordinarily see. What do you have in the works right now?
Well, the Cheyenne International Film Festival is entering into its 5th year, and we'll be screening a bunch of movies May 16th through the 19th in downtown Cheyenne. And we've recently have gone through the film selection process, and we're putting the program together for I think an eventful activity for people of all ages.
What is the theme or focus of this year's festival?
Well, the theme of the festival all the time is really getting people to tell their stories within the same safe space of the arts, sort of a social change through cultural action. And we really are interested in local filmmakers, local movies made by people from Wyoming, and movies about Wyoming, so that people can listen to the stories and talk about those stories amongst themselves, and maybe learn something, and maybe have a new insight about whatever the content may happen to be.
Right. Are some of your films actually produced by Wyoming filmmakers?
In the fall of each year, we hold an event called the Shootout Cheyenne 24-hour Filmmaking Festival, in which people have basically a day to make a 7-minute movie. And we require that the movie be set in downtown Cheyenne, and filmmakers have a lot of latitude in terms of the stories that they tell. But those films are judged, and the top 10 are screened for an audience. And again, the idea there is to get people to tell their stories and put them on the screen for people to watch.
Right.
And the Shootout really is what spawned the Cheyenne International Film Festival, in that we had a really good response to the contest, and we figured out that, well, maybe people just need a place to show their films. I've been associated with a number of film festivals around the country, and decided to start one up in my hometown of Cheyenne.
Right.
And it's lasted 5 years.
Excellent. And I understand you have a call to action program. Can you tell us a little about that and which film you'll be screening this year for that event?
The call to action program is one in which we partner up with a local nonprofit organization and try to find a movie that kind of fits in with the theme of that nonprofit. This year we're pleased to show a film called American Winter, which is a movie that was produced by two brothers, Joe and Harry Gantz, and it recently premiered on HBO. And we've been working with the producers and HBO to show the movie around Wyoming. And this year the call to action partner is the Wyoming Children's Action Alliance, which is an organization of youth-based organizations from around Wyoming who advocate on behalf of young people in the state.
Great, and I understand you brought a clip with you today.
Yes, there's a short trailer for the film, and we can just take a quick look at it.
All right, let's roll with that.
Thank you for calling 211. How can I help you?
I need help with our electric bill.
We just got an eviction notice.
Are you sleeping in your car?
Under a bridge, actually. Yeah, and it's cold.
I came home, no lights, no nothing.
It's been 3 days since the water got turned off.
I'm getting foreclosed on.
I'm not making the money to pay for our house. He's working his butt off to try to find a job.
I went through the whole phone book. Not one of them said they were hiring.
I hear them saying, we skipped dinner because we need to feed our kids.
Working for minimum wage, you'll never achieve the American dream.
Forget the dreams. How do we make it to tomorrow? Tomorrow's the dream.
Okay, Alan, wow, it looks like a very powerful film. And of course, I've just seen the clip, but can you tell us a little more about this film and why these Gans brothers made it and what the whole thing's about?
Well, the film is quite powerful and quite moving because it's people speaking their stories, and it takes place in Portland, Oregon, just immediately after the recession began around 2008, 2009, and the film follows 8 families through the course of their lives, and some folks have lost their jobs, some folks were fired, some folks are just otherwise displaced from the workforce. Some are small families, some have larger families, and really the film addresses this issue of social mobility in the United States, and really the lack of mobility for certain classes of people who, through no fault of their own, are thrust into economic displacement from the system, and their trials and tribulations, trying to be caught into the so-called safety net, and
right.
the safety net that really, as you know, some of the compelling stories talk about, really isn't, has big holes in it, and I think that the story in the end really has a uplifting ending, in that it talks about the hopes and dreams that the families have, and how some of the families ended up getting back on their feet, and still the troubles that they have to endure while trying to search through an economy where their jobs are scarce, and retraining and trying to learn new skills in terms of getting themselves back into the labor force.
Right, and so this is quite relevant for us here in Wyoming, because while we've seen a vibrant boom era, we've seen that with the recession, as it's hit the rest of the country, the same impact around the nation as in Oregon we felt here among poor and low-income families, or newly poor and low-income families.
Right, and Wyoming is fortunate in that it does have a vibrant economy relative to many places. I think the unemployment rate is under 5%, but still there's 5% of people who have somehow fallen through the cracks, and there
right.
are options that need to be developed, and what are those options? And I think that's the kind of discussion that the movie will bring up.
Why is it important for us in Wyoming to make movies, to watch movies? Why do you see that as a significant thing that you want to promote through your work?
Well, I don't know if it's necessarily making movies, or it's more about learning the technology, or becoming familiar with the technology, because anymore you can pick up your cell phone and shoot a movie and edit it into something. There are applications for your phone that are readily available to people of all ages, really, to tell their stories using a digital format. Back in the olden days, 8mm cameras were the technology available at that time.
Right.
And we're now advanced to the point where digital movie making is available to everybody. And so,
right.
what I like to do is help people integrate that technology and integrate those simple things that are now parts of everyday life into their work, into their interactions at home and in the community.
Sure,
so,
sure.
In addition to the storytelling and making movies, which is I guess kind of glamorous, I think there's also this sort of practical application to filmmaking and movie making.
Right, and we have a more digitally literate population, and part of it, we're not just, as I grew up watching TV, we're not just watching it, we're all capable of making our own movies and sharing it with our friends, but you're bringing a higher level of production value to this whole arena, aren't you?
I think production value, and as well as just opportunities to understand that people have stories to tell, and how can we preserve those stories, and it's easy to do that in addition to the typical folkloric storytelling approaches. And Wyoming is really becoming somewhat of a digital economy.
Sure.
With the NCAR computer in Cheyenne, and the Microsoft company moving some of its operations to Cheyenne, and Central Wyoming College having PBS and a television program over there, and Powell College having a similar approach.
Okay.
And so I think that and here we are in southeast Wyoming, where it's a bit more where the academic training is a bit more sparse when it comes to digital technology with regards to creativity. I think that we're trying to do that more from a community-based approach as opposed to anything that's necessarily institutionalized.
Putting the camera into the hands of the people so they can show us what life in Wyoming is like.
Exactly.
Alan, tell us about some of the other films that are going to be screened at the festival this year.
On opening night, the Cheyenne International Film Festival features a film by a Jackson-based movie maker named Jennifer Tennekin, and her film is called The Stagecoach, Crossroads of the American West, and it's about the Stagecoach Bar there in Wilson, Wyoming. And this actually was a film that was produced after Jennifer won the Wyoming Short Film Contest 2 years ago with a similar film. And we're going to be premiering that film, as well as we'll be screening the winner of the Wyoming Short Film Contest for 2013 on Thursday night.
Oh, excellent, yeah.
So that's some pretty good Wyoming content. There's another short program that we'll be featuring, and there's a guy from Lander, originally from Lander, named Don Sniffen, and his short film is called Good Dog. Don is based out of Colorado now, but still has a close affinity and friendships and family in Wyoming, and so Don will be screening his film. That's another one of the, I guess, locally themed films, but we have a program of international esteem. There are films from Iran and Canada and England and all over the world, as well as from Wyoming.
That sounds fantastic.
And we'll be screening some of the films from the Cheyenne 24-hour filmmaking festival, the Shootout.
Our audience probably wants to know, how did you get into movie making?
Well, I'd say I'm probably the epitome of what I've been talking about here in terms of community-based filmmaking, but maybe in 2003, 2004, I was laid off a job, and people say, well, you know, you want to do something that you've always wanted to do or always aspired to do, and so I collected unemployment insurance, and the public access TV station, they offered classes in how to edit and how to operate cameras and how to do the switching in the engineering room, and so I learned how to tell stories and using digital technology, and really haven't looked back since then.
Now, what do you think about the future of film in Wyoming?
Well, I think that it's not California, and it's not New York, and it's not New Mexico, where they have huge incentives, and same as they have in Louisiana. I think there's lots of room to grow. There are beautiful places to shoot in Wyoming, and it's pretty much still the Wild West when it comes to filmmaking.
Right.
Not a lot of permits that you have to gather, and not a lot of institutional red tape that you have to go through to make a movie. And so I think those are really selling points. But again, there really needs to be an infrastructure in place, and so. People who learn how to run a camera, or people who know which end of a boom pole to hold on to, or how to run for coffee for the director or producer.
Right.
There are all these jobs that they don't tell you about when you're going through high school or going through college, and you read the credits at the end of a movie, and there are numerous jobs that that people could train themselves to do, and not maybe come back here to live, but you can go
and develop that workforce,
develop the workforce, and then go someplace else to learn the skill and come back and apply their learning.
Like Daniel
Youngie is a perfect example of that. A Cheyenne kid. We both went to East. He became a filmmaker at NYU and came back and actually Colorado College. Came back with his Oscar-winning movie last year and screened it, and really is quite an inspiration, really. And it gives hope to all of us that if Daniel can go out and do this, it's just a matter of running into that story.
So people in Wyoming have something to share with the world as well, and we're screening these movies through your festival from around the world.
From around the world.
So what do we typically say when you're done shooting a movie?
That's a wrap.
Wow, that's a wrap, Alan.
And we'll see you at the movies.
That's right, see you at the movies.
The film festival runs from May 16th through the 19th. Films are screened at the Historic Atlas Theater in downtown Cheyenne. It sounds like a great way to spend a long weekend. Well, until our next screening, I'm Mary Young saying happy trails from everyone here at UWTV.